Hey, what's up guys, it's DarkArmedDuelist and today doing a doll monster deck profile. So I'm really excited to you guys because this is actually suggested to me by one of my patrons, Mimi. And this deck is an amazing deck that summons out all sorts of different XZ monsters to your side of the field using your doll monster normal monsters, which are super easy to summon to your side of the field with cards like Doll Happiness, Box of Friends, and even Rescue Rabbit. So without further ado guys, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell there so you can come part of notifications and definitely check out the Patreon down in the description below for all those awesome rewards like getting your name in the description of a single video, getting assigned cards in the mail, and even getting to request a deck profile every single month to your patron, along with test hands. And definitely give Mimi some love down in the comments down below for suggesting such an awesome deck. So let's get straight on into this one, guys. So first off, for the normal monsters, we're going to be playing 3 copies of Doll Monster Miss. This card is a good card for the deck because it combos so well with all the other cards in the deck, like your copies of your Grandpa Demeto, and even copies of Box of Friends. We then play 3 copies of Doll Monster Bear Bear. Bear Bear is also a really good card as well because you want those monsters that have 0 attack or 0 defense in this deck that help out a lot to go into all sorts of different XZ plays with all your different techs that you're playing in the deck. And then my personal tech of this deck is I'm playing 3 copies of the Gunkin Sue Ship Sara or Gunkin Sue Ship Rice. This card is a great card for the deck as well because it's a 2000 attack point normal summon, and there's a really good XZ monster in the extra deck that makes it super good to be able to play this card in the deck. And playing a small Sue Ship engine in the deck helps out a lot to be able to go in for additional XZ plays and eventually go into your copy of F-Zero. So this card is a great 3 of in the deck. The reason I like 3 of it in the deck as well is because it's always live with your copies of Rescue Rabbit and Unexpected Die. So that's it for the normal monsters. Let's get into the other monsters that we're playing. So for the effect monsters for the deck, we're going to be playing 3 copies of Box of Friends. Box of Friends is one of the most important cards in the deck to combo with your copies of your Doll Happiness, because this card has the ability, if this card is destroyed and sent to the graveyard, you can special summon from your deck 2 normal monsters with different names whose attack or defense is 0 in face of defense position, and you can only use each effect of this card once per turn, and monsters special summoned by this effect cannot be used as synchro material, and also they are destroyed during the next end phase. This card is a really good card for the deck because it helps you go in for all sorts of different plays into XZ monsters, and it's just an overall amazing card comboed with your copies of Doll Happiness. We then play 3 copies of Grandpa Demeto. Grandpa Demeto is a really good card in the deck as well because it helps you go into your copies of Zombie Stein and your other rank 8 plays, because this card has the ability that you can detach a material from Princess Cologne, and then you have the ability to special summon up to 2 normal monsters with 0 attack and defense from your graveyard, and each of those monsters becomes level 8 and they become a dark monster in defense position. And if an XZ monster you control activates its effect by detaching a normal monster, you can target that XZ monster and 1 monster opponent controls, destroy your opponent's monster, and if you do, inflict damage to your opponent equal that XZ monster's rank times 300, which is a really good effect to be able to just do all sorts of burn damage against your opponent while also getting you a 4500 attack point monster or one of the other rank 8s that we're playing in the deck. We then play for our Sue Ship engine, we're playing 3 copies of Ikura. Ikura is a really good card to play in this type because you can special summon it to your side of the field if you control Rice, and it has the ability also that you can, during your main phase, excavate the top 3 cards from your deck, and if you do, either add to your hand or special summon 1 excavated Sue Ship Sara and also shuffle the rest back in the deck, which is pretty good. So basically, if you reveal a copy of your Rice, you can just immediately special summon it to your side of the field, which is why I play 3 copies of it. We then play 3 copies of the Ice Fish. This card is really good as well because this card is also a free special summon if you control the Rice, and it has the ability also that you can special summon this card from your hand, and during your main phase you can special summon a Gunkin monster from your hand except another copy of itself, and then you take any number of Gunkin Sue Ship Sara from your deck or graveyard and place them on top of your deck in any order, and you can only use the effect of this card once per turn, which is a really good effect to be able to just basically put the cards that you need on top of the deck to then use the copy of Ikura to be able to excavate them to give you an additional monster on your side of the field. We then play 3 copies of Rescue Rabbit. Rescue Rabbit is a great card for this deck as well because it has the ability that you can special summon from your deck 2 level 4 or lower null monsters with the same name by banishing this card that you control, which is a really good effect to give you 2 level 4s immediately on your side of the field. We play 2 copies of Kage to Kage, because whenever you normal summon a level 4 monster, you can just special summon this card to your side of the field. And a single copy of Masked Chameleon, because Masked Chameleon has the ability when this card is normal summon, you can target one monster with 0 defense in your graveyard and special summon that target in face-up defense position, which is a pretty good effect to be able to just immediately bring back your copies of your Suship Rice or either copy of your normal monster, which is super helpful just to be able to summon those cards to your side of the field. So that's it for the monsters, guys. Let's get into the spells. So for the spells, we're going to be playing a single copy of Monster Reborn. Monster Reborn is a really good card for this deck because it helps you get another level 4 on your side of the field to go in for additional plays, so it is a great one-of. One copy of 1-for-1 because it can bring out your copies of Grandpa Demeto or Box of Friends, which is super helpful for this deck, while also getting a card out of your hand into the graveyard. We play a single copy of Double or Nothing. Double or Nothing helps out a lot to help you go in for game because it has the ability, basically, that once you make a copy of Utopia Double, you detach a material from that Utopia Double and then put a Utopia on top of it, and then it comes out at 5,000 attack points. You also get to search a copy of Double or Nothing from your deck to your hand. You can then attack the opponent with a monster that they control that has 2,000 attack points or less to be able to OTK them, because the Utopia is at 5,000. You can then detach a material from the Utopia to negate the attack, drop the copy of Double or Nothing, and then go up to 10,000. And if you attack into a monster that has 2,000 attack points, you're going to instantly win if they have 8,000, going in for a 1 monster OTK, which is super insane for this deck. We're then playing 2 copies of Pot of Avarice. Pot of Avarice is in here because you're going through so many monsters in this deck. You want to make sure that cards like Unexpected Die and your copies of Rescue Rabbit are always live in this deck. So this card helps out a lot to shuffle 5 cards into your deck, and then once you shuffle 5 of your monsters into the deck, you get to draw 2 cards, which is super helpful. We then play 2 copies of Piercing the Darkness. Piercing the Darkness is a really nice card in the deck. I wish I could play 3 copies of it, but I only could find room for 2 copies in this build. If you guys want to play a 3rd copy, you can, but it's a really good 2-of. It has the ability, if you normal or special summon a non-token normal monster, except during the damage step, you get to draw a card, which is pretty good. And then when an attack is declared involving an opponent's monster and a monster that you control that is a level 5 or higher normal monster, or was ritual summoned using a normal monster, or was fusion, synchro, or XZ summoned using a normal monster as material, you can make that monster you control gain attack equal to that opponent's monster's attack until the end of the damage step, which basically turns all the monsters that are normal monsters that are level 5 or higher, or it turns your monsters that use normal monsters as materials into honest, which is really cool. We then play 3 copies of Dull Happiness. This card is probably the best card in the entire deck, especially to draw into, because it has the ability that when you activate it, you can add a Grandpa Demeto or a Box of Friends from your deck to your hand. And then while you control a Princess Cologne, your opponent's monsters cannot target monsters with 0 attack or defense for attacks. And then once per turn, you can destroy 1 monster in your hand or field, and if you do, send a Dull monster card from your deck to the graveyard. And also, you cannot special summon monsters from the extra deck for the rest of the turn except for XZ monsters, which is not that big of a deal because basically you're using this card to add your copy of Box of Friends from your deck to your hand. And if you already have Box of Friends, you can add your copy of Grandpa Demeto from your deck to your hand, and then you use its effect to be able to pop the Box of Friends to special summon out 2 normal monsters from the deck, which is super good for this deck because you haven't even normal summoned yet. We then play 3 copies of Unexpected Die to round out the deck. This card is really good because you can just special summon any level 4 or lower normal monster from the deck, and you have 9 targets in the deck for this card. So this card is always a great card to start with. So that's it for the main deck, guys. Let's get into the extra deck. So for the extra deck, we're going to be playing a single copy of Princess Cologne. This card is a really good card for the deck, but you really only need a single copy of her. She has the ability that when this card is like Z summon, you can target a Box of Friends in your graveyard and special summon that target to your side of the field. And if you control another monster and your opponent cannot target this card with card effects or for attacks, and if a face-up normal monster you control is destroyed by battle or by card effects and sent to the graveyard, you can detach a material from this card to special summon a normal monster from your deck or graveyard in and face-up defense, which is a pretty good effect to be able to just get your normal monsters back on your side of the field to go in for additional XZ plays. We're then playing a single copy of the Ikura class Dreadnought. This card is a good one of in here, especially with all the sous ship cards we're playing. It has the ability, if this card is XZ summoned, you can apply the effects depending on the materials that it has. If it has rice on it, you get to draw a card, and if it has Ikura on it, this card can make a second attack during each battle phase, which is a pretty good effect to be able to just immediately use that ability. We then play a single copy of number 41 Boguska, basically just to slow down the opponent a little bit if we need to. One copy of King of the Feral Imps because of the Kage Tsukage and Masked Chameleon in the deck. One copy of Daigusto Emerald because we're playing so many normal monsters in the deck and has the ability to target 3 monsters in the grave, shuffle them into the deck, and then draw a card, or target a non-effect monster in the graveyard and special summon that target, which is a pretty good effect for this card. We then play a single copy of Utopia Double because it helps you go in for game, because you can make this card and then detach your materials, summon a copy of Utopia on top of it, and also search a copy of Double or Nothing. The Utopia comes out at 5,000, and then you can attack the opponent, negate the attack of your Utopia with its own effect, drop Double or Nothing, and go in for 10,000. The only downside of this is the Utopia cannot attack directly. We then play, for the other XZs, we're playing a single copy of F-Zero, so we can go into our copy of F-Zero Utopic Draco Future. These cards are absolutely insane and super easy to go into in this deck. We then play a single copy of Zombie Stein. This card comes up all the time in the deck, and it's really, really awesome to actually be able to summon this card because Grandpa Demeto makes the cards you summon back into dark monsters, which is really good. It also has the ability, it must be XZ summoned and cannot be special summoned by other ways, and then once per turn during either player's turn, you can detach an XZ material from this card and send one card from your hand to the graveyard to target one face-up card your opponent controls and change this card to defense, and if you do, negate the face-up card's effects on the field until the end phase, which is a pretty good effect to be able to be a walking negate and also be a 4,500 attack point monster. We then play a single copy of number 97. 97 is really good because it helps you go into your copy of number 38 or number 100, which are really, really good in this deck because being able to go into either or of these cards is just super powerful, because once you go into the copy of number 38, you can either negate spells or you can make the copy of number 100 to have that ability to go in for a 9,000 attack point monster if it's the only other card that you control on the field with number 97. If you have multiple XZs on the field, this card gains attack points times 1,000 times the amount of ranks that are on the field. Play a single copy of Assembled Nightingale because you do play level 1s in the deck, so you can make this card super easy to make our final XZ monster, which is Double A Zeus to board wipe the field. So that's it for the deck, guys. I hope you did enjoy it. It's a really fun deck to play with. I highly recommend that if you guys have not played with doll monsters, you definitely should. And I'm really excited that Mimi actually suggested this deck because it is an insanely powerful deck to play around with when you get your crazy plays to go off, because being able to just summon out like 4 XZs in a single turn is just amazing. So definitely keep your eye out for test hands because they are coming for this deck. So anyways, guys, this is DarkArmedDuelist. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell there so you can become part of the notification squad, and we'll see you guys in the next videos. See you later, guys.